This is the quick start guide for the Excel Skills weekly cash flow template forecast versus actual. This template enables users to compile a cash flow forecast for any 52-week period and to compare the forecasted results with actual results. Let's start with the forecast section and the assumptions that are used. So you can enter the business name in that cell and it's used as a heading at the top of the sheets. Enter a start date. This start date determines the reporting periods that are included in the template. You can then enter the number of weeks per quarter. The quarter 4 is calculated, and the next section refers to the income statement amount. So the forecast is calculated on the forecast sheet. Let's go there. So the forecast income statement includes 52 weeks and then quarterly and annual totals at the end, which are automatically calculated. All the rows that require user input are highlighted in yellow in column A. The code in column A, the first 2 characters refer to the sales tax percentage that should be used, and the second 2 characters refers to trade debtors or creditors calculation. C1 to include the appropriate amounts in the trade debtors or creditors calculation. C0 refers to a cash income or expense, and then it's not included. All income statement amounts should be entered exclusive of sales tax. So in this section, you need to enter turnover and gross profit percentages. The cost of sales and gross profit values are calculated. You can insert additional rows in between these rows. If you want to add accounts to these sections, then you insert in each section and you copy the formulas for the turnover and cost of sales, and you enter user input in turnover and gross profit percentage. So other income is also a user input field, as well as operating expenses, where you can go through the list and change the descriptions in column B to suit your business. And you can insert additional rows if you require more expenses. The staff cost is similar. You can insert additional rows if you want to. Also depreciation and amortization, these amounts need to be entered. Okay, interest is calculated based on the 4 amortization tables that we provide, 3 for loans and 1 for leases. Taxation and dividends are calculated based on the assumptions on the assumption sheet, and all the totals are also automated. Let's go back to the assumption sheet. Okay, the next section refers to balance sheet items, but it actually relates to the cash flow statement. So some of the balance sheet calculations are based on cash flow statement movements, and which then needs to be entered on the cash flow statement. So in terms of a forecast, we go back to the forecast sheet. So at the bottom of the income statement, you have the cash flow statement. Again, all user input rows are highlighted with yellow in column A. If you see a green code, it means that a positive value is expected. And if you see a red code, it's usually a negative value that needs to be entered. You'll see the proceeds from loans here. These are included in the amortization tables. So all the user input rows are used for balance sheet calculations and relate to the forecast. Okay, let's go back to assumptions. The next section is a working capital section. So inventory days, debtor days, and creditor days are used to calculate inventory, trade receivables, and trade payables on the balance sheet. The payroll accrual is based on an accrual percentage of staff costs. You can also specify the payment frequency in months, the first payment month of the calendar year, and then current or subsequent can be selected. If you select current, the calculation will be done up to that current month, and if you select subsequent, the payment calculation will be done just up to the end of the preceding month. You can also specify a payment day for inclusion in the weekly columns. Okay, so sales tax, you can specify sales tax percentages here. You can insert a row and add codes if you need more than the 4 that we provide. You can also enter payment frequency in months, the first payment month, and select current or subsequent and specify the payment day. Income tax, you enter your income tax percentage here. You can enter assessed loss if applicable, and again, payment frequency in months, first payment month, current or subsequent selection, and the payment day. Okay, loans. The loan terms here are applied to the amortization tables. There's also a repayment day, and then the amounts of the loans are determined based on the balance sheet opening balances initially, and then also based on the cash flow statement, the proceeds from loans that are entered there. So the balance sheet opening balances, these are as at the end of the period preceding the template start date. It functions like a trial balance, so assets are entered as positive values, liabilities as negative values, and equity as negative values, and your total of all the accounts should balance to nil like any trial balance. The last section is for the dividends, so you can enter a dividend percentage of net profit. You can enter payment frequency in months, the first payment month, select cash or next, which determines whether the dividend is paid in that calculation period or in the subsequent period, and you enter a payment day. Okay, so we've covered the income statement for the cash flow forecast and the cash flow statement on the forecast sheet. So the balance sheet is included at the top of the BS sheet. So the top section applies to the forecast, and everything is automatically calculated based on these template assumptions that we've covered. So let's go to the amortization tables just quickly. These are all automated. So as I indicated before, the opening balance comes from the startup balances on the assumption sheet, the additional loans from the cash flow statement, and then the loan terms are used to calculate interest, capital, interest charges for the income statement, and capital repayments are included on the cash flow statement. Okay, and it's the same for loan 2, loan 3, and leases. Okay, so we then go to the actual sheet. Now the actual sheet contains the income statement of the actual results. So we've again included yellow highlighting in column A for all user input rows, and the income statement has a 52-week period and the quarterly and annual totals. So you enter all your actual results on this income statement, even your interest as well. This is all actual results. It's basically just the total lines that are calculated. And then below that, you'll find your actual cash flow statement. Now, there's very little input in the cash flow statement. It's only the proceeds from loans. The other amounts are all based on balance sheet movements. And because we enter the actual balance sheet, there's everything on the cash flow statement for the actuals. It's calculated. Okay, so let's go to the balance sheet. What this basically means is your opening balances are calculated based on the balance sheet opening balances on the assumption sheet. But then all other balance sheet columns, you need to enter the actual values as per your actual results. The only exceptions are these lines that have been indicated in blue. So your cash and cash equivalents, as well as your bank overdraft if it's negative, and your retained earnings. These are calculated. All the other actual results on your balance sheets need to be entered. Okay, so then we get to the report. This unique report is used to compare your forecast and actual results. The entire sheet is automated. All you need to do is select the appropriate period at the top of the sheet. It then automatically updates based on the forecast and actual results that you've included. So there's an income statement, a cash flow statement, and a balance sheet. and then at the bottom it just a balance status to show you that it balances. Okay, so just a note, if you make changes to your forecast or your actual income statements, you also need to make those changes to this report. But you'll just insert lines maybe, or delete lines. If you insert lines, you'll just copy the formulas from one of the similar lines. And that's basically it. If you need more detail on the templates, you can have a look at our detailed instruction sheet, and you can also go to the support section of our YouTube channel where we post videos based on user feedback.